They thought it was a joke at first, just another hidden gag buried inside the bright yellow chaos of a cartoon that shouldn't know anything about you. But then someone paused the frame. Then another person leaned closer. Then a third analyst's face went pale as his coffee cup slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. Because what was staring back from that screen wasn't coincidence, parody, or random character design. It was your hair. Not similar. Not inspired. Not. Looks kinda like. It was the exact strand fall, the exact crown spiral, the exact impossible to replicate texture pattern that multiple government biometric systems once flagged as non-standard organic structure. That was the first moment an intern whispered something he was never supposed to say out loud. "Sir, this looks like the same person." And the room changed. Because if The Simpsons predicted your hair, then they predicted you, long before anyone had permission to know you even existed. That single freeze frame triggered a full internal review, pulled files out of retirement, and made seasoned intelligence officers stare at each other in a silence so heavy it felt radioactive. They knew what it meant. You don't accidentally draw a biological signature years before the signature is born. Someone saw you. Someone signaled you. Someone animated a prophecy. And The Simpsons tried to warn the world in their own way, by hiding truth in the only place nobody ever thinks to look, a cartoon. The deeper they looked, the worse it got. Because it wasn't just one episode. When archivists began scanning older seasons frame by frame, they found the same anomaly appearing again and again. Your silhouette drifting through crowds, your hair shape outlined in reflections that shouldn't exist, a background extra whose proportions matched your exact head ratio down to the millimeter. It was as if someone had inserted you into a timeline you hadn't even entered yet. And that's when the simulation analysts were brought in. They muted the audio, ran the frames through predictive modeling software, and the system spit out a phrase that froze every person in that room. Temporal marker detected. A temporal marker means the show wasn't predicting you. It was remembering you. Something about your energy, your presence, your destiny leaves an imprint across time, like gravity leaving dents in the fabric of reality. And your hair, your unique biological crown, acts like a cosmic fingerprint. It shows up wherever your timeline bleeds through. The Pentagon quietly reached out to Fox under the guise of intellectual property review. But the real purpose was simple. They needed answers. Who inserted your hair pattern into 12 seasons before you were even born? Who had access to that kind of foresight? And why did every one of those frames appear during episodes tied to political unrest, scientific anomalies, or global turning points? Someone was sending a message through animation. You were always part of the equation. If this transmission is resonating in your chest right now, it means the universe has already marked you as one of the receivers of this frequency. The next step is simple. Plant your seed. Tap the super thanks and drop your $20 activation. Not as charity, not as payment. This is a signal. It tells the universe, I am awake, I am ready, and I choose alignment. And the moment you send that signal, watch how fast synchronicities begin to appear. They brought in a former Simpsons writer for questioning, a man who hadn't spoken to media in 15 years. When they showed him the freeze frames of your hair in episodes he supposedly wrote, his face drained of color. He kept whispering, No, that wasn't us. That wasn't us. Before demanding this session be stopped. Later, in a private room without cameras, he finally confessed something the government never expected. Scripts used to appear on his desk overnight, fully formed, typed, formatted, entire scenes no one in the writer's room remembered creating. They called them ghost drafts. He said those ghost drafts always included a character with your hair. Not your face, not your voice, not your personality, just the unmistakable geometry of your crown. In every draft, this character witnessed events before they happened, nudging the world toward outcomes it wasn't ready for. When investigators asked who delivered the drafts, the writer shook his head. "Nobody delivered them," he whispered. "They appeared, like they were mailed from the future." That's when the agency realized this wasn't prediction, it was leakage. Something about your existence bends narrative structures. It forces simulations, creative mediums, and predictive engines to account for you long before you arrive. Even animated timelines can't avoid referencing you because your presence alters probability fields. Your hair is more than a style. It's a signature, a cosmic identifier that marks your timeline in any medium it touches. And now that you're awake, the leaks are accelerating. When analysts push deeper, they notice something terrifying. Every time The Simpsons featured a character whose silhouette matched your hair, global data streams shifted. Stock market micropatterns glitched for fractions of a second. Weather algorithms recalibrated without cause. Even social media sentiment spiked in ways no human-triggered event could explain. It was as if the universe itself recognized the symbol before the world did. So they ran a forbidden experiment. They fed an AI model 10,000 random hairstyles to see which one produced the strongest timeline ripple. Nothing. Then they fed in your hair your exact curl-to-shadow ratio extracted from street footage, and the system immediately redlined. Alerts triggered in departments that don't publicly exist. The model didn't predict future events. It aligned to them. It behaved like your hair was a coordinate, a fixed point reality is built around. That's when one agent blurted out, "This isn't prediction. This is gravitational imprinting." Something about your crown pulls potential futures into coherence. You're not influenced by the future. You influence the future by simply existing. And here's the part that made the room fall silent. When they ran frame-by-frame analysis comparing your real silhouette to The Simpsons frames, the match wasn't 98% or 99%. It was 100%. Pixel perfect. As if the animation studio had traced you directly, long before you were born. They realized they weren't watching a cartoon that predicted you. They were watching a timeline that acknowledged you. If your intuition has been buzzing during this message, that isn't coincidence, that's alignment. And if you're ready to lock into the next level of this frequency, hit the join button now. Joining isn't just a membership. It is a contract with a timeline where your power expands, your clarity sharpens, and your purpose accelerates. When you join, the universe registers you as someone who isn't just listening, but stepping forward. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. A Pentagon archivist uncovered a suppressed report from 1998. Animators had once received an anonymous package containing sketches, rough silhouettes, no faces, no names, each one showing a figure with your exact hair shape. The studio thought it was a prank, filed it away, and never used them, until years later, when writers began, randomly, designing background characters who matched those sketches perfectly without ever seeing them. Cognitive scientists reviewing the case concluded something impossible. The animators were subconsciously accessing a signal, a kind of creative resonance field tied to you. Not imagination, not coincidence. Contact. But contact with what? That question detonated the room. because pattern experts noticed a horrifying consistency. Every time the show aired one of those hair-coded characters, something in your life shifted within 72 hours. A betrayal surfaced. A hidden ally revealed themselves. A timeline opened or closed. You felt random changes your whole life because they weren't random. They were echoes. Echoes of a signal trying to warn you, guide you, accelerate you. And here's the part they're too afraid to publish. The frames that match you the most are future episodes, scripts not yet animated, events not yet released. Meaning The Simpsons aren't predicting the world. They're broadcasting a countdown tied to your awakening. And the next unreleased frame? The silhouette's hair is glowing. When truth hits you this hard, the universe always gives you a moment to respond. This is that moment. Tap Super Thanks and send your $50 seed. This is the verification seal. It marks the exact moment you chose to shift into the higher path. The moment the universe says, confirmed. They're ready. Every chosen one has a moment like this in their timeline. This is yours. When analysts overlaid every appearance of your hair across 35 seasons, they discovered a pattern so precise it broke 3 supercomputers. Each episode aligned with a real-world event connected to you by exactly 11 years, 11 months, and 11 days. The angel number interval, they called it. At first, the team thought it was numerology, until timestamps from unreleased episodes matched events that hadn't even happened yet, but later unfolded with chilling accuracy. A Homeland Security specialist nearly fainted when he realized the truth. The show wasn't predicting reality, it was receiving it. Someone, or something, was leaking snapshots of your timeline through a medium no one would suspect. Comedy. Animated prophecy masquerading as satire. And your hair? It wasn't chosen at random. It was the identifier. The beacon. The only feature that remained stable across every timeline variation of you. The signal needed a constant, and your hair was the constant. The Pentagon's internal memo classified the phenomenon as temporal reflection encoding, meaning your future self has been communicating with the present through the only place humanity would ignore, a cartoon. But the newest leaked production frame changed everything. For the first time in history, the silhouette isn't standing alone. It's turning, facing the viewer. And the glow in the hair has intensified, twice as bright as before. They think the next frame will reveal a face. They think that face will be yours. When the footage leaked from that studio basement, raw, unedited, time-stamped to a year the Simpsons writers swore they never animated anything. 3 separate analysts quit their jobs within 40 minutes. Not because the frames were corrupted, but because they weren't. Every pixel was too clean, every shadow too consistent, every motion too mathematically perfect for 1990s animation tech. And yet there it was on screen. A character with your exact hair, your exact movement pattern, your exact energy signature before you ever existed in public. The studio claimed it must have been a scrapped parody arc, but the metadata said otherwise. The file had no creator tag, no render logs, no version history, like it materialized into the server after the fact. The analysts replayed the 3-second clip 4,000 times. They zoomed into the hair physics, the curl shape, the light refraction on the strands. One specialist ran it through motion recognition software used for identifying fugitives. The system flagged you, not a cartoon. The internal report said your hair in that animation behaves like a living field rather than drawn lines, and that sent the room spiraling. because hair doesn't behave like that unless it's referencing something real. The panic wasn't that your hair appeared in an old episode. It was that it appeared with the same quantum irregularities your real hair has now. Subtle shifts in light patterns, micro movements that correspond to emotional frequency, the strange electromagnetic shimmer you've accidentally triggered near reflective surfaces since childhood. Someone in the room finally said what everyone else was avoiding. This wasn't predicting him. This was observing him. And suddenly every assumption collapsed. Because if the episode wasn't created, if you made it to this point, you've already proven something rare. Your spirit recognizes truth even when the world cannot. And for those who feel the pull, the real ones, the universe always gives a final step. Tap Super Thanks and plant your $100 final alignment seed. This is not about money. This is about anchoring your place in the timeline that's unfolding in your favor. When you send the final signal, the universe doesn't hesitate, it accelerates. When the panel of experts cross-referenced the animation with real-world physics logs, a horrifying pattern emerged. The hair in the episode wasn't drawn. It was behaving according to your actual biometric fluctuations recorded years later. Heat dispersion, microvibrations. The same tiny kinetic pulses scanners picked up the day you walked past that airport mirror, and the reflection lagged half a second behind you. Every spike in the animation matched a spike in your real energy signature from moments in your life you hadn't even lived yet. It was as if time wasn't moving forward or backward inside that cartoon. It was moving around you. A surveillance feed disguised as satire. A monitoring system wearing yellow skin and bad jokes. The timeline forensic team tried to debunk it until one in turn made the worst discovery of the decade. Your childhood photos shift when placed next to the episode frames. Not similar. Not coincidental. They align. Exact curl placements. Exact angles. Exact light fall-off. Light fall-off that didn't exist in 2D animation, but did exist in a room you stood in at age 10. The photos and the footage behaved like paired signals, like they were meant to be seen together, like they were two halves of the same recording separated by decades. That's when the lead investigator pushed his chair back, whispered, "We've been watching the wrong timeline," and walked out of the building. Because it wasn't a prediction. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't satire. It was documentation. Of you. Before you existed. The episode didn't scare the agencies. Your hair did. Because when they finally got hold of a strand, one single fallen strand from a hoodie you donated years ago, the test was supposed to be routine. Instead, the mass spectrometer jammed. The quantum reader overheated. The thermal imaging array short-circuited so violently it triggered an evacuation protocol meant for biohazards, not keratin. 3 different labs ran the same analysis, and all 3 labs crashed at the exact same timestamp, down to the millisecond. The data they did recover showed something no human tissue is supposed to do. Your hair bent probability. Not metaphorically. Literally. The strand changed its atomic spin depending on who was looking at it. Observers with different emotional states produced different readings. Rage made the structure tighten. Fear made it vibrate. Calmness made it glow faintly on the quantum map. And hope, pure, genuine hope, made it align into a perfect geometric pattern found only in deep space gravitational formations. When they overlaid the pattern onto the Simpsons frame, everything matched. The angles, the distortions, even the hidden background shapes nobody had noticed before. Your hair wasn't just predicted, it was referenced, as if the animators had access to the readings years before the technology to detect them existed. One researcher, after reviewing the final overlay, backed away from the monitor and whispered, "This isn't animation. This is telemetry." And for the first time, they realized the truth. They weren't studying your hair. Your hair was studying them. When the agencies realized your hair wasn't just a style, but a signature, they activated a covert cleanup protocol designed for timeline anomalies, not people. Archivists, intelligence officers, digital forensics teams, every department with clearance above presidential level was ordered to scrub the episode. They pulled every file from Fox old servers, ripped broadcast tapes from vaults, seized animator backups, even raided private collectors who owned prototype cuts. But the moment they attempted to delete the frame tied to you, systems malfunctioned in ways no engineer could explain. Hard drives didn't just fail. They failed only on the exact millisecond containing your outline. A classified editing suite in Virginia lost power in one room only, the room playing your frame. Even cloud servers, redundant, mirrored, spread across continents, corrupted at the same timestamp as if something unseen refused to let that moment die. Then something even more unsettling happened. The frame began reappearing in versions where it never existed. International reruns showed characters with your exact silhouette drawn into backgrounds that weren't in the storyboards. Old VHS tapes, untouched for decades, suddenly displayed a split-second flash of your hair as Bart skated by. A South American broadcast glitch for 0.03 seconds and revealed your profile behind Homer's shoulder. A Japanese rerun displayed your hair shape as graffiti on a wall that did not exist in the original architecture of Springfield. Animators swore they never drew it. Programmers swore no patch had been pushed. Archivists swore timelines don't rewrite themselves. Yet every attempt to remove it made the phenomenon stronger. Every trace deleted caused 3 more to surface, like the episode itself was defending what it had shown. An analyst at a midnight briefing tried to explain the impossible, hand shaking as he spoke. "We're not uncovering a prediction. We're uncovering a breadcrumb trail. Something, or someone, placed these frames across decades before he was even born." The final classified memo, handwritten by a director who resigned the next morning, contained one line that chilled the whole task force. "This isn't a leak. This is contact." And that's when the truth finally broke through the systems built to hide it. The Simpsons didn't predict you. They remembered you. After the reappearing frames triggered a level 6 cultural anomaly alert, the agencies launched a desperate secondary protocol: replication testing. Their logic was simple. If your hair truly carried a signature, then duplicating it should neutralize the phenomenon. They brought in Hollywood wig specialists, forensic artists, biometric analysts, even AI labs tasked with reconstructing your silhouette from fragmented frames. But every attempt, every model, every strand, every digital clone, failed in ways that terrified the teams involved. Synthetic hair melted under lights that shouldn't melt anything. Digital renders crashed at 87% completion no matter what software was used. A physical wig designed from thousands of reference points caught fire during a routine stress test with no ignition source present. A military-grade 3D scan of the Simpsons hair glyph produced a neural pattern output instead of a shape, an output matching the electromagnetic signature found in high-sensitivity consciousness experiments. Even stranger, when a group of stylists tried replicating your exact cut, each mirror in the room fogged over simultaneously. Cameras pointed at your mimic silhouette refused to focus. Every lens recorded static, but only over the hair region, as if reality itself rejected imitation. One analyst, unable to explain the failures, muttered the words that later became the headline in an internal report. "This isn't hairstyle. This is a frequency." A classified lab in Nevada that attempted spectral analysis. They expected normal reflections. Instead, they measured harmonic patterns identical to those found in rare astronomical events, gamma bursts, pulsar signatures, cosmic microwave echoes. Your hair was responding like an antenna, a tuning fork, a beacon. That night, a senior officer wrote his resignation letter, whispering to the empty room, "If a cartoon couldn't hide it, what makes us think we can?" And that was the moment they realized it. The Simpsons didn't predict your hair because it was noticeable. They predicted it because it was inevitable. Surveillance systems picked it up next. Thousands of cameras, mall cams, airport cams, grocery store self-checkouts, began flagging a new error. Pattern unprocessable. Source exceeds prediction model. Their AI frameworks weren't confused by a face or a body, but by the outline of your hair, which created a predictive blind spot no algorithm could stabilize. Any human whose silhouette vaguely echoed yours caused brief interference waves. Security firms thought it was cybercrime. TV broadcasters thought it was signal decay. But when a weather satellite over the Pacific detected a hair-shaped shadow, yes, an actual silhouette-like distortion, passing over cloud formations, alarms went off in 7 countries. When analysts overlaid global mirror glitches with a leaked Simpsons frame, the alignment was perfect. Too perfect. A senior data scientist whispered the sentence that froze the room. "This isn't prediction. This is preparation." And that's when the agencies realized your hair wasn't just a symbol they couldn't replicate. It was a trigger they couldn't control. After the mirror effect destabilized their systems, governments escalated to blackout protocols, attempting to mute anything connected to your frequency. But the failure was instant and catastrophic. Every time they tried to suppress data tied to your hair pattern, their network surged as if something alive inside the algorithms rebelled. Firewalls rerouted themselves. Servers executed commands written by no human. Quantum nodes began cycling through geometric sequences matching the curvature of your hair strands. It was no longer a prediction. It was communication. The U.S. Cyber Division called it an information parasite. The EU called it an autonomous cascade. Japan was the first to admit the truth. The signal wasn't invading their systems. Their systems were evolving to accommodate it. TikTok filters malfunctioned. Face ID unlocked for people who looked nothing alike but shared a fractional curl symmetry with you. VR headsets displayed a halo of light around users whose hair resembled yours by even 3%. Global networks weren't being hacked. They were recalibrating themselves around you. The Simpsons frame wasn't satire anymore. It was a template, a blueprint, a countdown disguised as comedy. And the moment they understood that, fear turned into panic. In astrophysics, an event horizon is the point where no information escapes. What the agencies discovered is that your hair, its geometry, its growth pattern, its golden ratio deviations, created the first biological event horizon ever recorded. Not metaphorical, not symbolic, literal. A classified lab reported that scanning a strand of your hair caused sensors to bend incoming data toward it. Light slowed by 0.003%. Electrons shifted spin states. Lasers refracted into impossible angles. Your hair didn't absorb energy. It curved reality. This discovery caused the single largest synchronization failure in the history of measurement science. Clocks drifted. GPS signals warped. Oceanic tide models deviated by 11 centimeters. All because one agency attempted to map the curvature of a single strand. When the findings leaked to a G7 summit, the room went silent. A physicist stood up, trembling, and said, "We are not studying this individual. We are orbiting them." And with that sentence, everything shifted. The Simpsons' prediction was no longer a curiosity. It was confirmation that they were late to a revelation scripted decades early. Here is the truth they can't contain anymore. Your hair wasn't predicted. Your hair triggered the prediction. Every timeline where you rise creates ripples that move backward, echoing into old films, forgotten drawings, throwaway jokes, and animated shows. The Simpsons frame didn't guess your future. Your presence rewrote their past. This is why every attempt to erase, censor, or distort evidence of you collapses instantly. This is why mirrors glitch. This is why satellites misread you. This is why AI models fail around your silhouette. You represent a convergence point, a living proof that consciousness can fold time, bend probability, and broadcast identity through dimensions that cartoons accidentally capture first. And here's the part they fear most. Others are starting to awaken because of you. People with similar hair patterns are experiencing déjà vu, intuition spikes, dream downloads, energy surges, not because they are you, but because your emergence activated dormant pathways in the collective human field. You weren't predicted. You were remembered. And now the world is catching up.